And as we know, topic for today's webinar is dividend, read with IEPF. Before we start today's deliberation, I would want to give a brief introduction on the topic. As we know, dividend is a reward paid to the shareholders who invest in the capital of the company, which is usually paid out of the net profits. However, company has an option to retain such earnings and use it for furtherance of its business activities. However, a remainder from the same can be paid as dividend to the shareholders. We also know that any unclaimed amount with respect to dividend is transferred to the IEPF account and the same is utilized for investor promotion and education. However, before we start the deliberation, I would want to introduce today's speaker, Ms. Payal Gupta, who is an associate at our firm, Mamta Binani and Associates. So, Payal, over to you.
First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the session. Today, we are going to talk about dividend. Firstly, I want to share something with you. This is a PPT I have made regarding dividend. I'm sharing the same with all of you. So firstly, we will start with basic of dividend. Why company pays dividend? The company pays dividend because they earn profit. Because of profit, they want to share the same with their shareholders. That's why they pay dividend. Dividend is a payment made by the company to its shareholders out of distributable profit. Again, there are few definitions given by our laws. As per Companies Act 2013, dividend includes any interim dividend. And as per Secretarial Standard issued by ICSI, dividend means a distribution of any sum to the member out of profit, wherever permitted out of free reserve available for the same purpose. As per ICAI, a dividend is a distribution to shareholder out of profit of or reserve available for the same. Now we are going to talk about types of dividend. Dividend are of many types accordingly, but we are only covering these company law aspects. Shares are basically classified into two. Firstly, it is preference shares and the equity shares. Equity shares. On equity shares, company usually give two types of dividend. That is, one is final dividend and another is interim dividend. And as per preference share, there are two types of dividend. One is cumulative dividend and another is non-cumulative one. Now, the equity dividend. What do you mean by equity shares? Equity shares are those shares which company usually give dividend on its nominal value as specified by SEBI. The rate of dividend on equity share is recommended by board and approved by shareholders in AGM usually. Rate of dividend depend on the dividend policies which every company made accordingly. And the profit available after satisfying the rights of preference shareholders, dividend has been given to everyone, every shareholders. Dividend, now we further classify dividend on the basis of time. There are two types of dividend, that is interim dividend and final dividend. What is interim dividend? बोला जाए तो interim dividend वो होता है जो कि दो AGM के बीच में दिया जाए या फिर आपका अकाउंट्स फाइनल होने के टाइम पे लेके आपकी AGM होने के पहले तक दिया जाए. The board of company may declare interim dividend during any financial year or at any time during the period from closure of financial year till holding of its AGM out of the surplus or the profit and loss account or out of profit of the financial year for which interim dividend is sought to declare. Why company wants to give a dividend, interim dividend? Because the company feels that they have earned enough profit for this quarter and they have believed that they are going to earn the profit in the upcoming quarters. That's why they want to believe that they want to pay the interim dividend. Final dividend, board usually declares dividend at the AGM and such dividend is called final dividend. Again, as per preference share capital, what do you mean by preference share capital? Companies Act 2013 According to Section 43 of the Companies Act 2013, preference share capital with reference to company limited by shares means part of issue share capital of the company which carry voting rights as a preferential right with payment to dividend, with either a fixed amount or an amount calculated at a fixed rate during the life of the company. Dividend is generally cumulative in nature and is not to be paid every year in case of deficiency of profit. Why company pays dividend is definitely depend if we earn profit. If company doesn't earn profit, they are not going to pay you dividend because it will be really unuseful for them because they are not able to get their working capital how they are going to pay the dividend to you if they have not inadequate not insufficient profit. Now we are talking about two types of preference shares. One is cumulative one. Cumulative preference share is those shares on which dividend is accumulated and cumulative and on which the dividend is to be paid at a fixed rate. Such dividend is payable even out of future profit if current profit is insufficient for the purpose. Non-cumulative one, if dividend is not declared this year, that means you are not going to get any dividend in the upcoming future or in the nearby year, unless it is declared on the said. Now we are talking about how can we give dividend. Out of how, matlab which funds we require to give dividend. So as per Companies Act, dividend can be declared or paid by the company mostly out of the profit after depreciation amount which is given in the provision of section 2, we need to deduct the depreciation amount, then we can only give then only we can take the amount of profit or out of the profit of the company for any previous years or years after providing for depreciation. या फिर दोनों से इस ईयर का भी ले लो या पिछले ईयर्स का भी ले लो, पुराना मिला के ले लो. Or out of the money provided by central government or state government for payment of dividend by company pursuant of guarantee given by that government. अगर guarantee government ने दिया है तो वो एक फंड अमाउंट ट्रांसफर करते हैं कंपनी को जिससे हम आपको दे सकते हैं उसमें से डिविडेंड, उस अमाउंट से डिविडेंड. Now we talk about transfer to reserve. Earlier there was a provision before 2013. There was a provision, a certain amount of money out of profit we need to transfer it to the reserve. Why we transfer it to reserve? Because it is a general concept that reserve amount we use for furtherance of business of our company. Now this transfer is not mandatory and it is only on the discretion of the company that they want to transfer to reserve or not. Again, provision for depreciation. We have already talked कि profit अपने लेंगे तो depreciation का amount हटा के लेंगे. तो ये चीज कैसे calculate करेंगे ये schedule में दिया हुआ है. And we can both use WDV method and SLM method, that is written down value method per year or simple straight line method. It depends. We are not covering the aspects of accounting as well as tax. That's why I'm not going to further talk about it. And there is another question. बेसिकली कंपनी क्यों देना चाहेगी डिविडेंड? बिकॉज इससे कंपनी का इमेज भी अच्छा रहता है, वो अपने शेयर होल्डर्स को बताती रहती है कि यस आपने हम पे भरोसा किया है तो हम भी आप पे भरोसा कर रहे हैं और देखिए हम आपको रिटर्न दे रहे हैं. बट समटाइम्स ये होता है कि हमारे पास एडिक्वेट प्रॉफिट नहीं होती है देने के लिए, तो उस केस में अगर कंपनी चाहे तो डिविडेंड दे सकती है. तो उस टाइम क्या करना चाहिए? इन केस ऑफ इन एविडेंस inadequate or absence of profit in any year, company may declare dividend out of free reserve. लेकिन उसके लिए कुछ कंडीशंस है जो कि हमें फॉलो करना होगा. दैट इज जो रेट ऑफ डिविडेंड है लास्ट 3 साल में अगर कंपनी ने कुछ डिक्लेयर किया है डिविडेंड देन हमें ये करना पड़ेगा कि वो तीनों का एवरेज लेना होगा और उससे ज्यादा आपका रेट नहीं हो सकता. That is, rate of dividend declared shall not be exceeding the average of the rate at which dividend was declared by it in the 3 immediate preceding that year, provided that such sub rule shall not be applicable to the company अगर उन्होंने कोई भी 3 साल में कोई भी dividend declare नहीं किया है. The amount to be drawn for such accumulated profit shall not exceed 1/10 of such of its paid up share capital and free reserve as appear in the latest audited financial statement. बोला जा रहा है कि accumulated profit से आप उतना ही ले सकते हो जितना कि 1/10 का वैल्यू होगा. दैट इज आपका प्रॉफिट अगर 1 लाख का है तो उसका 1/10 जो आएगा उससे ही उतना ही मतलब आप ले सकते हो accumulated profits में से या फिर फ्री रिजर्व से जो कि आपके लेटेस्ट ऑडिटेड बैलेंस शीट में शो कर रहा है. कमिंग नेक्स्ट, फिर इसमें दिया हुआ है कि अगर आपका कुछ भी पुराना लॉसेस है, इंकर्ड किए हो आप कोई लॉसेस या फिर डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर्ड है, तो आपको पहले उस लॉसेस को हटाना होगा। और जो बैलेंस ऑफ फ्री रिजर्व फिर आएगा आफ्टर विथड्रॉइंग shall not fall below 15% of its paid up share capital as appeared in the latest financial statement. No company shall declare dividend unless carried over previous losses and depreciation not provided in previous years or years are set up against profit of the company of current year. यहाँ पे एक स्टेटमेंट है जो कि बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, दैट इज कि कोई भी कंपनी अपना डिविडेंड नहीं दे सकती अगर वो अपने पिछले प्रीवियस लॉसेस और डेप्रिसिएशन की अमाउंट को उसमें से जो कि आप प्रॉफिट ले रहे हो उसमें से निकाल दे रहे हो, मतलब उसमें से माइनस करना इज इम्पॉर्टेंट। यू हैव टू लेस द अमाउंट ऑफ losses as well as depreciation amount जो कि पिछले ईयर का बाकी है from the profit of the company. That is, no company shall declare dividend unless carried over previous years and depreciation not provided in the previous years or years are set up against profit of the company of the current year. Now we are talking about interim dividend. अगर आपको interim dividend देना है तो कंपनी अगर incurred losses है या देना अभी भी चाहती है तो क्या कर सकते हैं? In case the company has incurred losses during the current financial year to the end of the quarter immediately preceding the date of declaration of interim dividend, such dividend shall not be declared at a rate higher than average dividend declared by the company during the preceding 3 years. Now the same concept. जो लास्ट 3 इयर्स में आपने जो डिविडेंड दिया है उसका एवरेज निकालेंगे, जो परसेंटेज आएगी उससे ज्यादा आप डिविडेंड नहीं दे सकते। Now we are talking about how to declare a dividend. So the basic is company is totally on the discretion of the company that they want to declare the dividend or they don't want to declare the dividend. That is totally upon companies. There is no hard and fast rule that company have to declare a dividend. लेकिन but if company declares a dividend, he become entitled to pay the dividend. A dividend when proposed does not become a debt, but only become debt when declared, and the shareholder is entitled to sue for the recovery of the same after expiry of the period of 30 years. The board recommend the dividend in the board meeting, and later at the AGM, it will be approved and declared by the payment. पहले बोर्ड रिकमेंड करती है, देन इस चीज को एजीएम में इस बारे में बात होता है एंड इसके बाद ही डिक्लेयर होता है पेमेंट। Further, I want to say something, that is कि in AGM shareholders can reduce the rate of dividend but cannot increase the rate of dividend which is being proposed. As per section 123(4), the amount of the dividend including interim dividend shall be deposited in a scheduled bank in a separate account within 5 days from the date of declaration of dividend. After declaration of dividend, we have to do one thing, that is एक शेड्यूल बैंक के साथ अपने एक सेपरेट अकाउंट खोलेंगे और उसके अंदर 5 दिन के अंदर वी हैव टू जितना भी अमाउंट अपने डिक्लेयर किए हैं उसको हमें जमा करना होगा। एक फर्दर चीज है कि कंपनी कब डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर नहीं कर सकती। अगर कंपनी ने किसी भी डिपॉजिट लिया है या फिर उसका इंटरेस्ट लिया है, उसके ऊपर जो इंटरेस्ट एक्रूड हुआ है उसे देने में फेल हो रही है, वो तब तक डिविडेंड नहीं दे सकती जब तक कंपनी उसकी डिपॉजिट को वो रिपे नहीं कर देती या उसके ऊपर जो इंटरेस्ट एक्रूड हुआ है उसे रिपे नहीं कर सकती, तब तक कंपनी डिविडेंड नहीं दे सकती। That is, a company which failed to comply with the provision of section 73 and 74 of Companies Act 2013 shall not so long as fail to continue to declare any dividend on its equity share. Further, payment of dividend. It is governed by section 123(5). No dividend shall be paid by company in respect of any share therein accepted to the registered shareholder of the shares or on his order or to his banker shall not be payable except in cash. बोल रहा जा रहा है कि कंपनी किसी को भी डिविडेंड नहीं देगी, जो रजिस्टर्ड शेयर होल्डर होंगे उनको देगी या फिर उनको देगी जिसको शेयर होल्डर्स में किसी अपने बैंकर को रिकमेंड कर दी कि इन्हें देना है तो उन्हें देगी, उनके बैंक में देगी। Then any dividend payable in cash may be paid by check or warrant or electronic mode to the shareholder entitled to the payment of dividend. In 3 basis पे ही आप dividend को pay कर सकते हो, that is cash, by check, by dividend warrant or any electronic mode, that is EFT. Key dates with respect to dividend. Now we are talking about dates. First, when we are declaring the dividend. कब अपने डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर करें, वो डेट इंपॉर्टेंट होता है बिकॉज उसके 5 दिन बाद ही हमें एक सेपरेट बैंक अकाउंट में डिविडेंड के सारे अमाउंट को डिक्लेयर जो किया है उसे डालना होता है। So we are talking about dividend declared date, record date. Why we need record date? Why we need book closure date? Book closure date जब अपने पूरे member register of member को close रखेंगे, ये decide करने के लिए कि who are going to get the dividend. That is कौन कौन member अपने को मिलेंगे जिसको हमें dividend देना है. Record date and dividend payment date. Company close the register of member or fix a record date of which 7 days notice should be given by company or published as advertisement in two newspaper. One is English newspaper and the other local or native language newspaper where the register office of the company is situated. Dividend has to be paid within 30 days of declaration. For this purpose, a dividend warrant is posted within 30 days will be deemed to be the payment of dividend irrespective of the fact whether it has been encashed or not. बोला जाता है कि डिविडेंड वारंट जब अपने देते हैं तो ये हमें देखना होगा कि हमें 30 दिन के अंदर ही उसका पेमेंट करना होगा. जरूरी नहीं है कि आप उस डिविडेंड वारंट को इनकैश करवा ही ले शेयर होल्डर्स, बट आप दे देते हो विद इन 13 days will be deemed for the payment of dividend warrant. Next, what happened with we can conclude that 123 section of Companies Act 2013 has been over. Now we are heading forward to the section 124, that is unpaid dividend account. When a dividend has been declared but not been paid or unclaimed within 30 days from the date of declaration to any shareholders entitled for the payment of the dividend, the company shall, within 7 days from the date of expiry of the set period of 30 days, transfer the amount of dividend which remain unpaid or unclaimed to a special account to be opened by the company in behalf of any scheduled bank account for the unpaid dividend account. यहाँ बोला ये जाता है कि डिविडेंड जो है हमने डिक्लेयर किया था, अगर वो पे कर दिया हमने 30 दिन के अंदर, बिकॉज डिविडेंड हमें 30 दिन के अंदर पेमेंट करना ही होता है आफ्टर डिक्लेरेशन. तो ये होता है कि अगर किसी ने कोई शेयर होल्डर्स, या हो सकता है हमने पे नहीं किया या तो शेयर होल्डर्स को या ही नहीं क्लेम करने के लिए डिविडेंड, तो उस सर्टेन अमाउंट को अपने एक नए अकाउंट में डालेंगे, बैंक के साथ वो खोलेंगे, दैट इज अनपेड डिविडेंड अकाउंट. बट इन जनरल सिनेरियो ये होता है कि जो अपने पहले अकाउंट एक सेपरेट बैंक अकाउंट में डिविडेंड का अकाउंट रखते हैं, उसी का नेम चेंज करके वी ऑलरेडी पुट एज अनपेड डिविडेंड अकाउंट. इन जनरल सिनेरियो कंपनीज यही करती है. The company within a period of 90 days of making any transfer to an amount, मतलब 90 दिन के अंदर अनपेड डिविडेंड अकाउंट में एक स्टेटमेंट कंटेन करेगा. 90 दिन के अंदर जब आप ट्रांसफर कर दोगे अनपेड डिविडेंड अकाउंट में वो डिविडेंड का अमाउंट जो कि अनपेड और अनक्लेम्ड है, then we will prepare a statement which contain name, last known address of the shareholders, amount to be paid, unclaimed dividend to be paid, and that need to be in the website of the company if any, or any other website of the company approved by the central government. अगर सेंट्रल आपके पास वेबसाइट है तो within 90 days from the date of payment in the unpaid dividend account, we will do one thing, that we need to put a statement regarding the same. If any default in payment in transfer the amount in subsection 1, interest will be accrued at the rate of 12%. अगर कोई भी इस amount पे 18%, sorry. If any default is made in transferring the amount referred to in subsection 1 thereof the unpaid account, it shall payable from the date of such default. Interest on such has not been transferred to the said account at the rate of 12% per annum, and the accrued shall ensure the benefits of the member in proportion to the amount remaining unpaid to them. अगर कोई अमाउंट हमने ट्रांसफर नहीं किया तो इसके ऊपर हमें इंटरेस्ट और पेनल्टी इंटरेस्ट लगेगी, दैट इज ऑन 12% ऑन द अमाउंट, टोटल अमाउंट जो भी ट्रांसफर करना था उसके ऊपर 12% हमें इंटरेस्ट देना होगा. Any person claiming to entitled to any money transfer under subsection 1 of unpaid dividend account may apply to the company for payment. अगर कभी हो सकता है कि बहुत बार अपने मिस कर देते हैं, बिकॉज एक जनरल इन्वेस्टर के रूप से आप सोचो कि वो बहुत सारी जगह पे अपना शेयर्स ट्रांसफर करता है, शेयर में ट्रेडिंग करता है, तो उसको नहीं याद होता कि इस कंपनी से मैं नहीं लिया हूँ या इस कंपनी से मैं नहीं ले पाया हूँ, तो हो सकता है वो भूल गया, बट सडनली ही रिमेम्बर्स, तो वो क्या करेगी, उसे जाना होगा कंपनी में एक स्टेट देना होगा कि वो क्लेम कर सकता है कंपनी से और उससे उसको वो चीज मिल जाएगा. इफ कंपनी fail to comply with any requirement of this section, such company is liable to penalty of 1 lakh rupees, and in case of continuing failure with such penalty of 500 rupees for each day after such failure continue, subject to a maximum of 10 lakh rupees. And every officer of default shall be liable to 25,000 rupees and each continuing failures. which further penalty of 100 rupees for each day after first, during which such failure continues subject to maximum of 2 lakh rupees. अगर कंपनी फेल करती है तो ये पेनल्टी अमाउंट्स उस पे लगते हैं. Now we are talking about IEPF, the main topic for today. Okay, अगर कंपनी नाउ वी आर टॉकिंग, हमने पढ़े पहले अनक्लेम डिविडेंड अकाउंट के बारे में कि अगर कोई ने क्लेम नहीं किया या आपने नहीं दिए तो ये क्या है कि अनक्लेम डिविडेंड अकाउंट में चला जाएगा. लेकिन अब क्या, वो अनक्लेम डिविडेंड अकाउंट में कब तक पड़ा रहेगा? तो इसके साथ 2016 में 7 सितंबर 2016 में एक कॉन्सेप्ट लाया गया, दैट इज इन्वेस्टर एजुकेशन एंड प्रोटेक्शन फंड, IEPF. Under year provide from the date of transfer to the unclaimed dividend amount should be transferred to a fund which are established by the central government as per provision of section 125, that is IEPF. जो भी अमाउंट 7 साल के लिए अनक्लेम डिविडेंड अकाउंट में है, अनक्लेम डिविडेंड अकाउंट में अपने रखे हुए हैं, अगर 7 साल तक कोई भी क्लेम नहीं करता है तो वो सारे अमाउंट वी विल ट्रांसफर टू IEPF. नाउ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट IEPF. तो IEPF क्या है, कौन ये फंड को संभालता है? That's the question. The central government is the one who has made this fund, IEPF, for the benefits of the investor. So central government come up with the concept of investment education and protection fund. In IEPF, government has formed a committee which is headed by one CEO, we are talking about the CEO and another person. The total of 7 members will be the part of IEPF committee. The main source of fund as follows: amount in the unpaid dividend amount of the company. कि कौन कौन सी अमाउंट है जो IEPF का पार्ट बनेगी, मतलब कि गवर्नमेंट के IEPF में आपको जमा करवाना पड़ेगा अगर फेलर कंटिन्यूस है. दैट इज अमाउंट इन द अनपेड डिविडेंड ऑफ द कंपनी, application money received by the company for allotment of any security due for refund, mature deposits on the venture with company, grants and donation given by central government, company and any other institution, etc. Any person claiming to be entitled to the amount may apply to the authority administrating this fund for the payment of the money claim. Where we can use the amount of IEPF, मतलब गवर्नमेंट ले तो रही है, अब इसका करेगी क्या? ये अमाउंट तो आए जा रहा है, ऐसा नहीं है कि आप क्लेम नहीं कर सकते, बाद में इसके बारे में अपने वी विल डिस्कस फर्दर, बट ये अमाउंट का होगा क्या, यूटिलाइजेशन अपने कहाँ कर सकते हैं? So, अगर कोई इन्वेस्टर आता है गवर्नमेंट के पास, that they came to government that we need our unclaimed dividend now, or we need our mature deposit which we haven't taken earlier, they can always apply to the government that they want this refund. तो ये अमाउंट वहां पे यूटिलाइज होगा. द रिफंड इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ अनक्लेम्ड डिविडेंड, मैच्योर डिपॉजिट, मैच्योर डिबेंचर्स, द एप्लीकेशन मनी ड्यू फॉर रिफंड एंड इंटरेस्ट देयरऑन. And government has come up with the concept of promoting investor education, because most of the time investors are the one who are bearing the losses. They don't know how to operate the market, they don't have awareness. So to protect them, government come up with this concept. The amount they use for this also, promotion of investor education, awareness and protection. Reimbursement of legal expenses incurred in class action suits, distribution of any dissolved amount among, sometimes investor get aggrieved by the orders or by the failure of the company that they won't able to, they suffer losses. That's why they come with the concept that if the person or investor getting losses, they are going to, and they made an order by the court that they have been suffered from this order. So the government with the amount has been used for repayment the same. Reimbursement of legal expenses incurred in pursuing class action suit under section 37 and 245 of members, debenture holder, depositor as sanctioned by the tribunal, any other incidental purposes. Now we are talking about what we are going to transfer of shares to IEPF. We have talked that कि amount of unclaimed dividend जो होता है, जो unclaimed है 7 सालों के लिए, तो वो अपने डाल देते हैं IEPF को. But now we are talking about shares. Shares is different and dividend is different. Dividend is paid on shares. So अब shares भी कभी कभार transfer हो जाती है IEPF में. तो वो कब transfer होगी, that we are going to read. So IEPF का concept ये है कि 7 सालों के लिए अगर कोई कंपनी डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर करती है और 7 सालों के लिए उस शेयर्स पे कंजिक्यूटिव 7 ईयर्स के लिए अगर उस डिविडेंड को किसी भी इन्वेस्टर ने या शेयर होल्डर्स ने इन कैश नहीं किया, नहीं क्लेम किया, तो उनका शेयर्स भी आईपीएफ में ट्रांसफर हो जाता है. So, as per Companies Act 2013 provides that all share in respect of which dividend has not paid or claimed for 7 consecutive years or more shall be transferred to IEPF. In case any dividend is paid or claimed during the year of 7 consecutive years, the share shall not be transferred to IEPF. Again the concept is there कि 7 साल consecutive होना चाहिए. अगर हो सकता है कि suppose a company has given dividend on 2016. I'm the investor, I'm the shareholders, and I forgot to take that one in 2015. Again in 2016, I forgot to take that one. But in 2017, I take my dividend. And again on 2018, I forget to take one. So क्या for consecutive 7 years ये चल रहा है, पर बीच में मैंने एक साल ले लिया है, तो मेरा शेयर ट्रांसफर नहीं होगा आईपीएफ में. My share won't get transferred to the IEPF. But if I fail to claim my shares for dividend for a continuous year of 7 years, then my shares gonna transfer to IEPF. Now we are talking about general provision of transfer of share to IEPF. Shares to be credited by the company to demat account of IEPF authority within 13 days when it become due. मतलब 7 साल जहां से कंप्लीट होता है 30 दिन के अंदर अपने को IEPF अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर करना पड़ेगा. डीमैट अकाउंट है IEPF का जो कि गवर्नमेंट अथॉरिटी के साथ है, उसमें अपने को सारा शेयर्स जो कि अनपेड और अनक्लेम्ड है उसे देना पड़ेगा. बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स देयर इज टू कॉन्सेप्ट. इफ डीमैट अकाउंट है या फिर ये डीमैट अकाउंट है तो व्हाट वी गोना डू इज we are going to tell it to our depository participants, the depositors, they can transfer, do it on our behalf. But अगर हमारे पास नहीं है तो we will authorize our company secretary or any person necessary with all documents to effect the transfer through IEPF company. But before doing such things, 30 days, before 30 days, 3 months from the due date of transfer of IPF, जहां से हमें 3 महीने के अंदर करना है आईपीएफ में मनी मतलब अमाउंट ऑफ शेयर्स ट्रांसफर, उसके 3 महीने पहले हमें सारे शेयर होल्डर्स जिनका शेयर्स एंटाइटल्ड है आईपीएफ के लिए, उन्हें ये चीज कंसर्न इंफॉर्मेशन देना होगा उनके लेटेस्ट अवेलेबल एड्रेस पे. प्लस ये नोटिस हमें भिजवाना पड़ेगा न्यूज़पेपर में, वन इन इंग्लिश एंड अनदर इज रीजनल लैंग्वेज, दैट इज बाय नेशन सर्कुलेशन. If कौन से shares, there is a concept that if there is a shares which is already been placed or hypothecated under Depository Act 1996, those shares won't be transferred to the IEPF. Company have to file IEPF 3 within 30 days from the end of the financial year, furnishing detail of such transfer. If there is something कि जिसपे already हमारा कुछ pledge किया हुआ है, hypothecation किया हुआ है under Depository Act, तो वो shares IEPF में transfer नहीं होगी. But हमें एक statement देना होगा e-form IEPF 3 में within 30 days from the end of financial year, where so we have to give the details regarding such in IEPF 3. The transfer of shares by the company to IEPF shall deem to be transmission of shares and the procedure for transmission of share to be followed. The transfer we are doing in IEPF, we will treat it as a transmission of the shares. Demat shares to be transferred by way of corporate action to concerned depositor. Here, demat will be treated by corporate actions. That is, company have to give declaration of the same through corporate actions to the concerned depositors. Physical shares, there are two concepts which I have said. Demat, we can do it by demat, by depository, but in physical, the company secretary or the person authorized by board make an application on the behalf of the concerned shareholder to the company or issue of new share certificate. On receipt of application, a new share certificate will be issued in the lieu of share certificate number for the purpose to transfer of the IEPF. मतलब कि a company secretary को इस behalf में या फिर any person board wants to be authorized, they can authorize the same for issue of new share certificate. मतलब कि जो shares अपने transfer कर रहे हैं IEPF में, वो सारा share, because अपने जब share transfer करते हैं तो हमारा share transfer जब करेंगे तो हमारा share certificate भी change होगा. अभी तक शेयर सर्टिफिकेट इन जनरल टर्म्स क्या होता है कि आप जब शेयर ट्रांसफर करते हो तो नेम ऑफ द ट्रांसफर का नाम चेंज हो जाता है। ट्रांसफर और ट्रांसफरी के बीच में होता है। आपका शेयर सर्टिफिकेट पे पहले किसी ट्रांसफर का नाम था, अब जिसको आप ट्रांसफर करके उनका नाम आ जाता है। बट इधर क्या होगा कि ट्रांसफरर के नाम से जो कि है कोई शेयर होल्डर्स होंगे, उनके यहाँ पे जो शेयर सर्टिफिकेट अब होगा उस पे अपने लिखेंगे इशूड इन ल्यू ऑफ शेयर सर्टिफिकेट नंबर ट्रांसफर टू आईपीएफ। ये आईपीएफ के नाम पे रिकॉर्डेड हो जाएगा। After issue of a new share certificate, the company have to inform to the depository by way of corporate action to convert the share into demat form and transfer in favor of IPF authority. We will go to depository. We will say them by our corporate action, that is by a notification or a notice, they have to transfer those shares to the demat account of IPF authority, जो कि एक account है IPF authority के साथ, उसमें वो सारे shares transfer हो जाएंगे. Now, after transferring what is going to happen with those shares? Freezing and preparation of data for transferring of share to IEPF. Identify the list of shareholders who are eligible for transfer to IEPF. अपने यही करेंगे कि जितना भी डाटा है उस शेयर होल्डर्स का उसको एक स्टेटमेंट बना के रख लेंगे कि क्या क्या कौन सा डाटा कौन से एलिजिबल ट्रांसफर होने हैं IEPF अकाउंट में. लास्ट पेमेंट स्टेटस देखेंगे डिविडेंड का कि क्या है, करंट ईयर में उन्होंने लिया है कि नहीं लिया है और IEPF में ट्रांसफर करना है कितना. एक सेपरेट लिस्ट डीमैट शेयर्स का बनाएंगे, फिजिकल शेयर्स का बनाएंगे, अनपिच सस्पेंस अकाउंट का बनाएंगे एंड शेयर इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ विच ट्रेडिंग परमिशन इज पेंडिंग. Folio number and all the thing. Then if there is no approval has been taken by board of stakeholder relationship committee, then we have to take the same from them for issuing of new share certificate. After issuing of new share certificate, corporate action has to be done, that is depository को transfer करना होगा. Separate corporate action to the effect that the depository has to transfer shares in unpaid suspense account. RTA, that is register transfer agent, have to upload the corporate files with the concerned depositor. Depositor के पास जाएंगे, वो लोग ही करेंगे ये काम. तो RTA will verify the credit of the demat account of IEPF. Procedure is different for transfer of share where trading permission is pending. If trading permission is not pending, then what? File form IEPF 4 with NC regarding transfer of share and upload the data of share within 7 days of filing of the form. Preserve the details of shareholders of each shareholder whose shares has been credited to demat account of IEPF authority. Now the thing is every company for doing the same have to nominate a person as a nodal officer with the who will coordinate with IEPF authority. Basically, a nodal officer can be CA, CS, or anyone, that is chartered accountant or company secretary or any person authorized by the board. The particulars of nodal officer has to be communicated to the IEPF authority. Now we are talking about the shares. The shares, every shares contain a voting right. Equity shares basically. The voting rights and share transfer to IPF shall remain frozen until the rightful owner claims the shares. Any further dividend received on such shares to be credited to IPF. Everything, dividend, bonus, splitting of shares, fractioning of shares, those all things will be applicable to those shares which is transferred to IPF account, except the right issue. If any right have been given to the shareholder, which is not applicable to the IPF authority on those shares which has been transferred to the IPF. Now the question is, if a person wants those shares back, then what? Any person whose shares unclaimed dividend have been transferred to IPF may claim the same from IPF authority by submitting a web-based online form, that is IPF 5, which is applicable on ipf.gov.in, along with fees specified by the authority time to time. After making an application, claimant shall send original share certificate, original bond, as the case may be, along with indemnity bond, advance receipt, or any other document required under form IPF 5, duly signed by him to the nodal officer of the concerned company at his register office for verification of claim. Company then send within 30 days from the date of receipt of claim a verification report to the IPF authority, along with the document submitted by the claimant with a scanned copy of the same for duly certified by nodal officer. This is basically कि आप कैसे अपना शेयर्स फिर से ले सकते हो. तो हमें ये करना है कि अपने IPF 5 करके एक फॉर्म है जो कि एक वेब बेस्ड फॉर्म है, उस पे जाएंगे जो कि अवेलेबल है हमारे www.iepf, उसे फिल करेंगे विद स्पेसिफाइड फीस देंगे। उस फॉर्म का एक प्लस आप पे जो भी एप्लीकेबल है, सर्टिफिकेट एप्लीकेशन सर्टिफिकेट और
I think there's some issue, Payal, you're not audible. I I think there's a technical issue. We will have to wait for like I think 5 minutes or so. Sorry for the inconvenience.
extremely sorry everyone, there is some technical error with my laptop. So I'm resuming the same. So I'm talking about how we will recover, how we can able to take those shares back. So one is we were there actually after making an application, क्या करेंगे अपने कि application बनाने के बाद हम ये करेंगे कि हमारा original share certificate या original bond deposit certificate या along with indemnity bond आप दे दोगे कि नोडल ऑफिसर को जूली साइन करके आप नोडल ऑफिसर को दे दोगे, तो वो क्या करेगा, जो कि हमारा रजिस्टर ऑफिस ऑफ द कंपनीज में ही रहते हैं उनके देंगे, वो लोग एक वेरीफाई करेंगे क्लेम को, और कंपनी जो कि नोडल ऑफिसर ही करेगी कंपनी के बिहाफ में 30 दिन के अंदर वो आईपीएफ अथॉरिटी को दे देगी, एक स्कैन कॉपी के साथ सर्टिफिकेट की वो दे देगी। आफ्टर वेरिफिकेशन ऑफ एंटाइटलमेंट ऑफ द क्लेम, आईपीएफ अथॉरिटी अब एक डिसीजन लेगी कि वेदर दे वांट टू रिफंड और नॉट। अगर आपका एप्लीकेशन पूरा सही है, आपका वेरिफिकेशन पूरा सही है, आईपीएफ अथॉरिटी आपका शेयर्स क्रेडिट कर देगी आपके डीमैट अकाउंट में जो कि आपने दिया होगा उस वक्त। अगर इफ बाय एनी चांस आपका वेरिफिकेशन के लिए या आपका फॉर्म में कोई डिस्क्रिपेंसी है, देन व्हाट, एप्लीकेशन रिफंड कर सकती है, वो शायद भी डिस्पोज कर सकती है, जब भी आईपीएफ के अथॉरिटी को 60 डेज के अंदर रिफंड करना पड़ेगा, या तो डिस्पोज रिफंड करना पड़ेगा शेयर, या तो इस केस को डिस्पोज करना पड़ेगा। अगर उन्हें रीजन अगर लगता है कि नहीं वो 60 डेज के अंदर वो काम नहीं कर सकती, तो उनको रीजन बताना होगा, कम्युनिकेट करना होगा क्लेमेंट को प्लस कंपनी को। Okay, now we are reading. Application for refund shall be disposed of by the authority within 60 days from the date of receipt of the verification report from the company, complete in all respects. Beyond 60 days, if there is anything that they feel they are not able to communicate the same, then they have to give the reason to be communicated to the claimant. A communication to be sent to the claimant and the concerned company by IEPF authority if the application is incomplete or not approved due to deficiencies. In case a non-receipt of document rectification document by IEPF authority after expiry of 30 days, IEPF authority may reject form IEPF 5 after giving an opportunity to the claimant to furnish response within 15 days. कभी कभार होता है कि आप जो फॉर्म एक इन्वेस्टर भरता है तो हो सकता है कि वो पूरा डिटेल्स नहीं भर पाए बिकॉज he is an investor. He may or he may not have all the information with him. So what he can do कि IPF अथॉरिटी एक रीजनेबल अपॉर्चुनिटी उसे देती है कि विद इन 15 डेज आप जो भी डॉक्यूमेंट्स आपने नहीं भरे हैं या नहीं दिए हैं वो आप फर्निश कर दीजिए और उस 15 डेज के बाद वो 90 डे का एक पीरियड स्टार्ट होता है अगर उसने डॉक्यूमेंट दे दिया देन IPF इज ऑफ ओपिनियन कि हाँ हमें दे देना चाहिए रिफंड कर देना शेयर्स तो वो रिफंड कर देगी और अगर इज ऑफ ओपिनियन दैट दे नीड टू रिजेक्ट दे कैन रिजेक्ट दिस और इफ विद इन दोज 90 डेज उन्होंने नहीं किया कुछ भी नहीं किया कोई इंफॉर्मेशन फर्निश देन आप ये कर सकते हैं हम लोग क्योंकि IPF उसको अब नहीं देगी अब रीजनेबल अपॉर्चुनिटी बीइंग हर्ड भी नहीं मिलेगा दैट इज case has been disposed of. Now refund to claimant. Sometimes what happens, shareholders die, but their legal heir or successor, administration or nominee, the transmission process to be completed by the company before filing any claim with IPF authority. पहले कंपनी इसके बारे में सब कुछ करेगी ट्रांसमिशन प्रोसेस करेगी देन IPF अथॉरिटी के पास आप जा सकते हैं कंसोलिडेटेड क्लेम इन केस ऑफ कंपनी ना एनी फाइनेंशियल ईयर या आपके पास बहुत सारे शेयर्स है तो क्लेमेंट एक साथ कंसोलिडेटेड क्लेम कर सकता है अपने सारे कंपनीज के लिए इन एनी ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर Okay, that's it. My topic is covered here. I have already talked about IPF as well as dividend with this. Mridula, over to you.
Thank you, Payal. Thank you for the session. We can now open the house for questions. And let us see if there are any questions. So, there's a question from Mr. Udayan Maru saying that how to access IEPF for unpledged shares and dividends which may have been transferred.
Every company needs to publish a statement in IEPF 1 if they have transferred the shares to the IEPF account. We can get that from here there or we can get the records from IEPF authority on their website. We can follow both the things. Either we can go on the company website, we can get the details over there, how many shares you have been transferred to those IEPF account, or by giving the folio number or client ID, whatever you have, you can get the details over there. Thank you. Another question?
He has also asked, can an investor give his folio number and ask the company or RT and request for movement in the script?
Yes, he can ask from the RTA also. Yes, he can do that.
So there's another question, under which head is my dividend taxable if I hold the shares for trading purpose or as an investment?
So see, there is two concepts actually. If we are trading in the shares, then the dividend is taxable under the heads of income from business and or profession. And if we are only made it as an investment, then it's an income from other sources. When we are going to cover the taxable aspect, then when we are going to file the ITR return, then these things happen, and the which head we are going to fall. So if we are doing the trading one, then we are falling under income from business or profession, and if we are going under investing one, then we are going to under income from other sources.
Okay, thank you, Payal. I think there's another question from Mr. Swapnil Patole saying, can we reclaim dividend?
There's a concept of reclaiming the shares. Yes, we can reclaim there's a concept of reclaiming the shares as well as dividend from IEPF account. We can file IEPF 5 regarding the same. Thank you.
Further, can we claim dividend from IEPF?
I think he was asking for reclaiming. Yes, we can.
Okay. Mr. Udayan again has a question. He's saying if the bank has not given the delivery of physical shares which were pledged and the bank doesn't respond, what does the shareholder do?
The bank is not delinquent issuers, and the bank doesn't. They need to file a complaint. They have to ask from the dividend. Sorry. They have to communicate the same to the bank as well as the company after giving the pledge fund.
Are there any other questions? I think there are no further.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, I have one question. Let for an example, if the company has transferred some shares to IEPF, then how the company will calculate total voting right?
Okay, I have already discussed that if the shares have been freeze out, then their voting power of the shareholders is already freeze out. And it's as per as company, that as per SEBI, it is provided in SEBI Act 2011, Regulation 2011, that share which have been transferred to the authority under IPF, which need to be, while we are going to calculate the total voting rights, we need to exclude. While calculating the total vote, it shall not be excluded from the calculated one. When we are going to calculate the total voting rights, we have to include the total shares which has already been transferred to the IPF account. I hope I'm clear now. We have to include those shares which is transferred to the IPF account for calculating the total voting rights.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You are clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
While there is another question for you, I think people have a lot of questions regarding this session, and the session was so good. As a legal heir, what are the steps that one has to follow to claim dividends in shares that have been transferred to IEPF? Does one approach the company first and then file IEPF, or does one simply file IEPF 5 after getting a probate?
Actually, I have already shared this in the last slide. They have to confirm it with the company first. They have to transfer the same on their name from the company first, then they can fill the form IPF 5. Okay.
Okay, thank you for your answer, Payal.
Thank you.
Also, I think, are there any other questions or shall we close today's?
Yes, you can close. Thanks for Payal, for you neatly explained everything. Now the shareholders can know how they can claim their unclaimed dividends and how to get their shares back and everything. Thanks for neatly explaining everything to the shareholders. I hope that the doubts will be clarified. Yes, you have made it clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
So, coming to an end, I would like to thank everyone for their presence, and thank you, Payal, for making this session so informative and captivating. Thank you. Looking forward to more participants and more such sessions. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.